right? Creating more value video opportunities, offer opportunities, Chad, and just making sure that we're able to find different ways inside of our client acquisition process to be able to get qualified ideal types of clients coming through the door, right? And being able to have some conversations with them. This is something that Dustin just started doing. Chad, obviously, you've had experience with different versions of a quiz funnel over the years. A couple of my other clients have had pretty good success with this. But I will say, this isn't like a be all and end all strategy. It's a tool, right? It's very much a tool. It's very much, let's say, like a marketing play, if you will, that you use periodically throughout the year. It's not something that is like a magic bullet per se, but it's something that can help just drive some more qualified leads, even current leads that you guys are working with or having conversations with, re-engaging them, and just making sure that you're getting all the information that you can out of the ideal types of clients that you're speaking to so that you can position either a value video, a personal invite, or just coaching conversation in the best possible way. So that's what I'm going to be speaking about today and going through some different metrics around this. So very, very simply, goal of this training today is just how to help you understand how to use a quiz funnel to generate more leads and create more value video opportunities. That's it. That's the goal of this training. That's what this is designed to do. Now, before we get into the quiz funnel, I first want to define a couple of terms. So, the quiz and an application to work with you, the questions that you're going to ask are actually very similar, right? But the intent that the ideal client has going through it are very different. And I want to make sure that we're clear on this before we move forward because it's easy to screw up. So somebody opting into a quiz, right? Like let's say Chad has a quiz and it's a 2 minute quiz for me to understand a little bit more clarity around why I'm struggling with the problem that I currently have. And I go through and I fill all that out. That's me not saying, hey, Chad, I want to work with you. That's me saying, hey, Chad, I want to use this tool that you've created in your marketing to find out a little bit more about myself, right? To give me a little bit more clarity in what my problem is. Now, that's very different than me saying, hey, Chad, I want to work with you. Tell me more about your coaching, right? So I just want to clarify that because it might seem similar to an application, what I'm going to teach on today, but it is different. It is different in terms of how you want to converse and kind of have that dialogue back and forth with that ideal type of client. But it is important to know that even if somebody is opting into a quiz to find out more about whatever it is that you guys are talking about, that's still a very big step in the direction of working with you, right? Like going back to the training I went through last week, like a very big step in the direction of the beliefs and making a qualified buying decision with you. So that's kind of the difference between a quiz and then an actual application to work with you, right? Like your applications, I'm sure we all have them, is like a pretty in-depth form asking all the questions to understand where someone is at, what their goals are, what they're trying to achieve, and these are people who have the intent in hiring you. Whereas a quiz is more so the intent of, I want to learn more about XYZ problem. I want to learn more about why I keep having this roadblock, right, come up in my journey. I want to learn more about a solution, whatever it may be. It depends how you're framing the hook of the quiz, but that's the energy of it. Now, also, when I say funnel, I don't mean we need to create like a landing page and like all this tech and blah, blah, blah. I very simply mean it's kind of like an invisible funnel, right? Where like somebody is coming into it. They actually, I'll share my next slide here, because this is perfect. Somebody is coming into it from either your content, emails, your new followers, even like DM conversations that you guys are speaking to. And these people are just opting into the quiz, right? To be able to understand why they're having XYZ problem or pain point continually come up in their lives. Now, from here, once they submit the quiz, Now you've got a value video opportunity because we're going to structure some of these questions specifically around the gap, essentially, and all the different elements that we need to send a structured value video around. And then we can either book a call or continue asking follow-up questions in the DMs. And then this is the funnel, right? This essentially is the quiz funnel to be able to drive more value video opportunities and call booking opportunities. This is essentially what it looks like. So it's not like this big robust click funnels or different type of like landing pages. It's more so just either a type form, a jot form, similar to what you guys are probably already using for your applications. There's many different ones, but we're just structuring it in some different ways to get new attention inside of it, right? That's essentially what it is. Now, a couple of slides that I missed. So a quiz, just like I said, quiz is more so someone raising their hand saying, "Hey, I want to learn a little bit more about myself and about a problem or about my goal." Application is, "I want to work with you," right? So that's kind of the difference in terms of how we want to frame it. Now, the whole thing about this quiz, kind of just how I started this training today, it's not a magic bullet for your content for client acquisition. It's just another tool in your tool belt, right? And it's not necessarily replacing your DM flow, value videos, application funnels, anything like that. It's just another way to essentially get hand raises, right? That's essentially what it is. And at the end of the day, not only all of you guys on this call, but every single business I work with needs more hand raises, right? Like that's usually the biggest bottleneck that most online coaching business has is qualified hand raises, consistent hand raises over time, right? Like that's the biggest thing. So your quiz gives you that opportunity to do that. Now, the beautiful thing about the quiz is that if we structure it right and ask the right questions, you're going to get almost all of the information that you would normally get in a back and forth DM conversation, right? So you guys know there's different DM trainings that I have inside of the Lifestyle Wealth Mastermind, and we're talking about clarity, right, on what their problem is, what they've tried before, what their goal is, and you're establishing that gap. And then once you have that gap, then you can send a value video, right? Beautiful thing about this quiz is that, again, as long as you structure the questions right, which we'll talk about a little bit today, you can pretty much get all of that information in a quick, like 2 to 3 minute quiz. So instead of, because we all have conversation pain points, right? Instead of having like the back and forth in the DMs and some people don't respond, or it takes a couple of weeks, or heck, sometimes it takes a couple of months for someone to get back to you, and you're just trying to get the information that you need to send a value video or provide value in some way, book a call. This quiz does it like that, right? So there's power to it. There's a lot of power to it. It's something that doesn't necessarily replace the DM flow, but it's something that you can use periodically inside of your marketing to be able to essentially fast track or accelerate the process of some of the conversations that you're having with your ideal clients. So that's a little bit around the quiz funnel and what it is. Now, in terms of what the goal is, kind of just like I said, the main goal of this is to prime a value video or position your coaching. Those are the two different elements of why we want to go through a quiz funnel. Now, it's not necessarily like we're pitching our coaching right away. It should feel like self-discovery for your ideal clients, right? Because the whole reason why someone is going to go through a quick 2 to 3 minute quiz is because they want to find something out about themselves, about their problem, about their goal. And there might be some light coaching involved, but it's not like a direct pitch to your coaching or anything like that. And it shouldn't feel like that, or else people aren't going to go through it. Essentially, you need to think of it as, hey, I'm creating a system around the first couple of parts of my client acquisition system, right? That's essentially what we're doing here in terms of a quiz funnel. Now, a good example, and Chad, I'll tee you up in like 1 minute as well, so you can share your screen. But this is a good example in what exactly I'm talking about. So this is one of my clients, Shannon. She has a quiz that she's running right now. She works with high achieving women, moms who are business owners, and this is her quiz that she's running right now. So This is a time freedom quiz for high achieving women to uncover where your time, energy, and boundaries are being drained. So that's kind of our hook around what this quiz is. Now, as you can see, this isn't necessarily like join my coaching or anything like this. This is very problem based. So just to help them get a little bit more clarity around why they're stuck and where some of their time, their energy, their boundaries are being drained. So this is specific for her. Like obviously for us, we would use a different hook, but this is something that's doing rather well in terms of structuring questions around her ideal types of clients, pain points, goals, problems, why they're stuck, what they've tried before. And then Shannon's getting amazing responses from this quiz. And what she's doing is exactly what I teach you guys to do as well. She's going to personally review the quiz responses, and then she's going to send a custom value video walkthrough on how to achieve XYZ goal based off of their responses. Right. So for her, it's how to reclaim 5 hours a week without sacrificing your success or sanity, which is perfect for her ideal client. But for you guys, it's going to be whatever kind of micro solution we can solve for the pain point your ideal type of client has based off of how we're structuring the quiz, right? And this is kind of like a nice little screenshot of what they get when they're done. And Shannon is going to go through all their responses and just review the responses. She might show a couple of slides of her value video as well to give them some good value. And then position a follow up call, position maybe some follow up questions in the DMs, depending on where that client is at. But what she would successfully do here in achieving this is get most of the data points, right, that you would normally get in a back and forth DM conversation, which, just like I said, sometimes takes a week, right? Or sometimes takes months. Whereas the quiz funnel accelerates that in just a couple of minutes. Now, Chad, I'll cue you up here. But this isn't something you want to use all the time, right? And you want to like totally burn your audience out with. It's something you want to be tasteful with. And I would probably use maybe 1 or 2 times a month in terms of marketing it and talking about it. But like I said, it's just another tool that you can have in your tool belt to be able to structure better DM conversations, better value video opportunities, and change things up. Right. Because if we always have same call to action, sometimes it can get a little stale with your audience. So a quiz is just a different way to kind of spark interest with your ideal types of clients. So I'm going to get a little bit more deeper into that, into how to build this, how to structure your questions, and how it can work inside of your overall marketing ecosystem. But before I do, Chad, if you're cool with it, if you could share some different quiz angles and kind of share your screen with some different examples that have worked for you in the past, because I know this is something that you've applied rather well over the past couple of years as well. That would be awesome, and then we could take it from there.
Yes, sir. Let me pull this up here real quick. But what I'll say as this loads up is yeah, like Will said, I think it's great to utilize like once or twice a month, if that, right? Because for me, like what I'll do for the delivery side of things, I'll kind of layer it into my one of my pieces, my content, and then the other one's typically in my story where I'll talk about it in a video talk and kind of layer that in and have the link and put like a poll if they want vote yes if you want to go through the quiz and figure out what's been holding you back. That's how I go about it. So my setup is honestly it's been very effective. I keep mine more simple. Because I use a lot of the language in my content and stories to kind of build it up even more so. I like to keep my questions simple as you'll see because I use this as an opportunity to get more depth the client in the DM or the prospect in the DMs. So now I'll get that in a second. So first of all, ready to finally discover your number one weight loss roadblock? Click start to begin. What's your first name? We'll give that information. Please include your social media link. I always like really double down on this because people will not even put their link or their information. It's like, how am I even supposed to get this to you? So you got to be like very active with that for sure. So I get their email address too in case. Um, and then I say like why is it important for you to achieve this weight loss goal? So all the answers I have for this is based upon what I've heard over the years. These are like the things I hear all the time. So I use like my prospects language. A lot of times it's this one right here, like probably about 90% of the time. What have you tried in the past? Um, this one again is like 95% of the time. And what I do, so when they vote on this, they pick like A. Whenever I DM them, I'll expand on this more because I can't just get too in depth because I don't have enough information for the value video. So I'll be like, hey, I saw you said in your quiz that you said that you've tried many diets in the past. Like, what have you tried more specifically? And then I'll have them walk me through what their current day of eating looks like for them specifically, because I'll rip into that and I'll explain like, hey, this is why, you're falling asleep in the afternoon. The way you're starting out your breakfast or whatever, right? Like dig into more of the detailed stuff, open their eyes more. So that's a gateway to that. Did you see good results? Obviously, they're going to say no. What's their current health goal? Uh, these are usually ranges I've seen typically that pop up. What's been your limiting factor? So again, using their language I've heard many times over the years. And then how committed are you achieving this goal? This is very important to throw in there, in my opinion, because like nine times out of ten when people fill out the quiz they're going to say I'm ready to learn the next steps for this, but there's going to be people who say who this is not a priority for me right now. If they vote that, I'm not going to map out a 20-25 minute video for them right now. I'll kind of say like, hey, like when this is more of a bigger goal of yours, I'm more than happy to revisit this with you and create this video for you, because you want to make sure you're not wasting your time right now. I mean, it's not a bad idea to do so, but they're not in their head. It's kind of more of it's not like a must yet for them to change. It's more of kind of a should. So you can kind of like nurture them over time, but taking your time for this long of a video is probably not the best idea yet for them. Then I say like, how are you ready to figure out, find out the number one contributing factor why you can't lose the stubborn belly fat? Yes, show me the way. So more confirmation they want help. And then I'll say, like, based on your answers you gave me, I'll create you a 20-25 minute video going over your game plan. And then I emphasize how this isn't like a boring free training, that it's specifically built to them, which is why it'll take up to 24 hours to create it. Talk to you very soon. So, again, I like to keep mine simple. It's been effective because I just use it as an opportunity, kind of like what Will said too. You can save yourself so much time because sometimes the DM conversations can go on for weeks, even like a month, to even talk about stuff like this. So then when you have this information, you can just, dig into the layers even more so, get the data you need, and create that very specific video for them. And then once you do that, then obviously you have a great video you can make, and they're going to be more than likely ready to book in a sales call with you or ready to become a client after that. So yeah, hope that helps.
That's awesome, Chad. Can I ask some follow-up questions on this?
Absolutely.
So how long have you been running this quiz?
This one, so this one's actually, I would probably say 4 years, like three or
Wow.
4 years.
Holy
Yeah.
shit. Wow.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah.
Cool.
Uh-huh. And like I'll create different quizzes for different occasions, but this has been like my primary one where I sprinkle this in more often than not. Like I said, 1 to 2 times a month via the content and stories. And it's been very effective because there's new eyeballs coming in my audience and then they're new and fresh to it. So yeah.
Totally. And Chad, like you, I would say you, out of all the coaches I work with, you, well, just because you've known me for so long, you were my first business client ever. But also, like you run the flow that I teach like flawlessly and almost exactly to a T, right? But the reason why I bring that up is because in order to send value videos and use value videos in the best possible way, A quiz is just such a good way to get all the data points to be able to send value videos, right? And to position them in the best possible way. So, Chad, you sharing that is just, and again, it's not the be all end all, right? It's not going to solve all your business problems, but just periodically, it can really help just give you maybe a couple of extra value video opportunities a month. And it just gives you so much ammo, if you will, to be able to position the value video based off their answers, right? And Chad, if you don't mind me asking, so like you've been using it for 4 years, which is great, means it works well. But I'll also say there's probably sometimes you put it out there and it totally flops, right? You get no responses every now and then.
100%.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. It's happened many times.
which is
Yeah.
normal. And I want to bring
Hmm.
that up too,
Yeah,
because
totally normal,
you
guys.
guys will create your quizzes and sometimes it's going to hit and sometimes it's not. And that's okay. Right. It doesn't mean like you failed or something's wrong with it. You just maybe need to tweak and adjust an angle, or maybe we need to try again a couple weeks, couple months down the road. Because the strategy is something that yeah, sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. And that's kind of the nature of business. Right. So just
Yeah.
kind of keeping that in the back of your head too is key.
For sure. And I just want to piggyback off that too, because I mean, there's different variables to look at. I think a lot of times where it would flop for me is my delivery process and how my content piece or how I'm sharing in my story. That kind of matters a lot. Another thing to take a look at too, and the reason why I do so many like A, B, C kind of choices is like it just makes it so much more efficient and easier for people to go through. Because as we know, like many people, they're obviously like the attention span is very low. They're going to click on the next thing. So the easier you can craft it, um, I always say make it more efficient, shorter the better. Like just get the information you need, because then from there you can expand a lot more in the DM. So um, it's trial and error, So if somebody is like, what's nice about Typeform too, I can kind of see where people are dropping off, so then I can like adjust things. So kind of take data that way. But yeah, either way, it's gonna flop sometimes, and it's totally normal. It's just you got to look at these different variables, and it'll work out as it always does. So
Love it, man. Any questions for Chad before I move on?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Chad, what would you say is the percentage of quizzes that you get back that you end up sending the full 20-25 minute value video versus continuing a conversation in a DM, and what kind of distinguishes those?
so you're asking like if I the percentage between me just send the straight value video and then or carrying the conversation, just so I get it right.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, so for this, I always lead into carrying the conversation first. Like I never just take this and send a video right away. That's just my style with it.
Mhm.
So don't get me wrong, there's still times where people kind of drop off and they maybe it doesn't happen right away, but again, when I nurture people, I send like a value piece later on that kind of kicks off the conversation. So there is a percentage of people who do kind of drop off and don't really respond, but honestly, that's kind of more after the quiz than the conversation. So it's tough to, I don't really have an exact number per se percentage wise, but there is that variable there for sure. But again, my thing is I always have them expand on it more so I can get more detail and I can get more advanced in their video to deliver more. And I think it just helps them open up more before anything else before we get in the call. So it builds that know, love, and trust factor, in my opinion. So,
Perfect. That helps. Thank you.
of course.
Has anyone done this in jot form? Like I see yours is in type form. Has anybody done this in jot form?
Yep. Many people. The Shannon Logan one I just shared, she uses that.
Yeah.
Dustin uses Jotform. Yeah, you can totally use it. Use whatever you guys are comfortable with. Yeah.
It's just because I already have a subscription for it. So I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure it worked. I haven't tried a quiz in there yet. So
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, whatever you guys I would assume are already using or paying for your
yeah.
other subscriptions or applications, I would probably just use that. It's fine.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, good question. Cool. All right, guys. And yeah, in terms of what Chad's saying there, like going back and forth in the DMs before he sends a value video, different ways to go about it, right? Like that's Chad's flow. There's no kind of right or wrong way to go about it. I mean, for me, I might send a value video right away because if I'm getting really, depending on how I'm structuring the questions, if I'm getting really, really good information, I'm probably going to send out the value video. So it's whatever you guys are most comfortable with, is kind of the name of the game there. So anyway, let me finish this up and kind of complete some next steps here. So yeah, I already talked about this, but essentially it automates your DM qualification process, right? Like, and it all depends how you structure your questions, but like to Chad's point, almost called you Tad. To Chad's point, like those last couple of questions, when you're asking commitment questions, when you're asking questions around their motivation, things like that, that gives you a really good indicator of, for lack of a better word, like the quality of the lead, right? In terms of how close they are to their buying journey and really making the change that they want to make. So yeah, just understanding how to position these things are important. By far and away, and this is super important for me to talk about, the quiz. What dictates the success of a quiz or not is the hook. It's by far and away the most important thing because at the end of the day, we can't send out value videos to people who are submitting the quiz if nobody's submitting the quiz. Right? Obviously. And don't get me wrong, like sometimes it will be hit and miss, but by far and away the hook of essentially if like McKenna, let's say you have a quiz funnel and you're marketing the quiz funnel. The subconscious question I have in my head, if I'm your ideal client and if I'm interested in going through it, the subconscious question is why should I go through it? Right? Like that's what I'm thinking immediately is why should I do this? Should I spend 2 to 3 minutes going through this? Like and we all have that subconscious question, right? That's exactly what we're thinking. So the hook, in terms of how you're positioning the quiz, in terms of solving a certain problem, solving a certain pain point, or what they're going to get at the end of it, by far and away is the most important thing. So for Chad's talking about body fat, right? And that's probably one of the number one pain points for his ideal client. So that's why it works well. And he's nailing that pain point. For Justin, for example, is going to be very different, right? Your ideal client is very different. Pain points, all of that is very different. So for you guys, really making sure that you can hit the nail on the head with your hooks and what that looks like and the problem that you want to give them more clarity around is by far and away the most important thing with a quiz. And I'll also say this before I move on. Sometimes you need to test it. Sometimes you think something is going to work really well and you put it out there and it won't work. And then you need to tweak and adjust it to something else a couple weeks down the road. And that's very normal, right? Because sometimes you need to put out a couple things. I will say this though. What I normally recommend before going full bore into this strategy is I recommend coming up with like 2 to 3 different angles of a hook for a quiz and then literally testing it on if it's like Facebook or Instagram stories, running some polls and asking your audience. Like I know it's so simple, but it's sometimes the most basic market research is the most important. Literally just asking your audience what they prefer. Like, hey, do you guys want to find out information around X or Z, right? And see what they vote on. Is it more important for you guys to achieve XYZ goal or ABC goal? Right? And see what they vote on. And now you're starting to get feedback. Now you're starting to understand, okay, what kind of hook would work and what wouldn't for your audience, which by far and away is the most important thing. So that's one thing that I think can really help for the success of a quiz. Anyway, in terms of next steps, excuse me, this is a really good one, right? Like for example, piggybacking off of you, Chad, why you're gaining body fat even when you eat clean. Take the quiz to see which metabolic roadblock you're hitting, right? This is just an example going a little bit deeper on Chad's version. But essentially, what we're doing here is we're speaking to their curiosity and speaking to their confusion, right? Because some people might feel like they're doing things right. Maybe they're trying to eat clean, they're exercising, they're doing the things, but they're still not getting leaner. They're still not achieving the results that they want to see. So this quiz gives them that clarity in terms of what's the culprit? What's the thing that's holding you back? And going back to the training I did last week around the beliefs, the first couple of beliefs are around problem and pain points, right? And what their goals are. They first need clarity on that to rapidly ascend to the different beliefs that they need to make a decision with you. So that's just one example. Like I said, it's going to be very specific to your ideal client and very specific to the problem that you guys solve. So, like maybe one for you, Justin. Are you stuck between training hard and recovering right? Find out which system is failing you, metabolic, hormonal, or neural, right? So, like where are you getting taxed the most? And then they can go through the quiz and then you can send them their response, right? Based off of what's holding them back the most. So everything is more so problem based, not necessarily solution based, but more so problem based because this is where they're at in terms of their awareness level, right? And the first couple of stages, more so like top of funnel, if you will. They're not ready to hire anyone yet. They're not ready to make a buying decision yet. They more so just want more clarity on why they're stuck. So anyway, I'm going to kind of go through these, but to answer your question there, Dennis, Typeform is a really good one. Jotform is a really good one. Google Forms, if you guys are using this, I would say these are the top three that I would say most of my clients use already for their applications. So I would say just use whatever you guys are comfortable with. There's many others, don't get me wrong. So if you guys have different ones, you could probably use that as well. Biggest thing I would say in terms of this tech stuff is just use whatever you guys are comfortable with, right? Like at the end of the day, if a quiz is going to quote unquote hit for the numbers that I know all you guys are working with, a successful quiz is like getting a couple responses, to be quite honest. Maybe one, maybe five. But it's not like we're going to be overwhelmed with like 20, 30, 40 responses right away. So the tech is less around like what's the best one and more so just whatever you guys are most comfortable with is usually what I would recommend. So in terms of monthly marketing, I know this is a mouthful, but it's just kind of a quick bird's eye view to describe the point that if every single week inside of any given month, so this is an example for October marketing, right? If I'm doing a call to action at the end of every single week in the almost 5 weeks that we have in October, as you can see, I'm only gonna kind of promote and offer the quiz twice, right? So I'm breaking it up, right? Like at the end of the month, I'm calling in one-on-one clients. Here, I'm offering a 2026 game plan call. Here, I'm offering an 80-day action plan call for the rest of this year. And then here and here is where I'm going to have a call to action for the quiz, right? So it's not something that I'm constantly promoting. It's something that I have, just like I said at the start of this training, as a tool. It's just a tool that we want to not overuse, but just use periodically throughout our lead generation sequence. And one last thing on this I think is important is how I normally like to use the quiz is as the cleanup crew, if you will. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if you guys are in the middle of any given month or at the end of any given month, let's say, and you've got a lot of leads that are kind of just all over the place, you're having like so many different conversations and it's just there's a lot happening, a lot of data points, a lot of DMs flowing back and forth. If that's happening and it's a little bit overwhelming, I'll periodically use a quiz and promote it to all those people. And heck, sometimes I don't know if you've done this, Chad, but like sometimes I'll even use it in my DM flow. And I'll be like, hey, Alvi, I know we've been going back and forth on Instagram. I know you're struggling with XYZ problem. I actually put together this resource like exactly for people like you to provide a little bit more value and get more clarity on why you're stuck. Feel free to go through it. And then I'll send you a quick 15-minute video afterwards, specifically for you, right? So I'll do this individually in some of my DMs or through my content, and I'll just clean up essentially a lot of the conversations that I'm having, because how the quiz is structured, it's getting all the data points that you would normally get inside of a DM conversation anyway. right? So I kind of call it the cleanup crew because that's essentially what it's doing in a very efficient way, and it just supports everything else that we're doing inside of kind of what our any given month of our marketing flow looks like. So just a good idea to kind of see how it fits as puzzle pieces inside of everything else that we have going on. So questions. So Chad obviously just went through his questions, and what I'm about to share with you is very, very similar. Um, how you need to think about it is what are all the elements you need to structure a well-positioned value video, right? Like that's essentially how you need to think of this. Now, obviously, there might be a couple of questions that are specific to the hook that you guys are creating and kind of like how you're positioning the quiz. But in terms of some basics, like just data points, right, that you want to get from someone is what's the overall problem they're struggling with? What are the pain points in that problem? Like how is it showing up in their life? What have they tried before to solve that problem? What's the main goal that they have? Why is that goal important to them? So right there, like just in number 5. So right there, I've already created the gap, right? I already have more than enough for a really, really good value video. And I'm only halfway done. Number 6, what's your work slash lifestyle situation? So reason why I'm asking this is like what's their, especially as health coaches, this is really important, not just for financial qualification, but like, are you sitting down at a desk all day? Are you, do you work like a very high stress job? Like I'm going to ask some sort of a question around that to understand their lifestyle, right? Their stresses, things like that. What's their commitment level? Exactly what Chad asked. Like, how committed are you to achieving this goal? Ask permission to send a value video based off their results, and then where are we going to send the value video to? So I like to position it this way instead of just asking like, "Hey, what's your Instagram or what's your email?" I will still ask that, but I'll ask it in a better way, and I'll say, "Hey, where should I send the results to?" Because everybody wants results. And sometimes you'll get like fake emails or stuff like that. But not if you position it this way. Because everybody wants to get those results, right? So they're going to give you their email or their Instagram or whatever it is so that you can send them that video and their results. So all of these questions, more or less, and they're just topics of questions, right? But all of these questions, more or less, what I'm going to want to do is structure multiple choice questions around these themes. Now, here's where I want to go a little bit deeper, right? Because what Chad just showed was great and a really good example for him. Maybe for some of you guys, you want to go a little bit deeper, right? So, like, let me give you an example. Let's just start with the first one, overall problem. So, I could go as shallow or I could go as deep as I want with this, right? So, let's say overall problem, lose weight, tone up, increase energy levels, right? Like that, I would say that's kind of surface. Or I could go deeper. I could say like lose between 5 to 10 pounds of body fat, lose between 20 to 30 pounds of body fat, lose between 30 to 40 pounds of body fat, right? Like now all of a sudden I've just gone way deeper. So it depends on your ideal client and it depends kind of how deep you want to go with these questions. And it's kind of up to you. But the biggest point of feedback I can give for structuring these questions is use multiple choice questions. Like don't have the blanks where they can type things in. Only reason why I say that is because I've tested this so much with so many clients. And as soon as you have like a type things in to expand on answers, people drop off. They just do. So I'm pretty cut and dry on that, just because I've tested it so much. Would it be better to get some answers like that? Yeah, for sure. But multiple choice just converts so much better, right? We want responses, and that's the whole point of the quiz. So multiple choice questions is how I'd structure this, and then for you guys, feel good about the answers that you're getting, right? So that's why you want to structure some of the answers strategically. So if your questions are a little bit too surface level, and it's still kind of hard for you to position a value video based off of a response, well, then that's some feedback for you that, okay, I can make some of these questions and some of these answers a little bit deeper so that I'm getting some more tangibility, if you will, to their answers. So I've got some stuff I can sink my teeth into to structure a value video, and make it very specific, right? So you guys kind of have that dial, if you will. Like you can go shallower, you can go deeper, depending on what's going to convert the best for your ideal clients. But you want to make sure that you're getting the data points that you need to send a good value video at the end. So those are some of the basic questions in terms of how I would structure a quiz round. Now, last thing I'll say on this is that based off of the hook that you guys have, like if it's performance based, body composition based, whatever it may be, you might want to sprinkle in a couple of questions around that hook just so it's a little bit more specific. But that's kind of up to you guys as you're creating this. So to recap, we're ending right on time today. The quiz is essentially a lead magnet, right? It's a way to get hand raises. It's a way to start conversations easier, and it's a way, obviously, to send value videos better. The hook is everything. Make sure that you test the hook before you go live with a quiz funnel. And last thing I'll say on this is we can rotate quiz topics every couple of months, right? It doesn't always have to be the same angle. Sometimes we can change the angle, right, to keep it fresh every couple of months, to make sure that we're getting good responses and we're getting good eyeballs for the overall quiz funnel. So anyway, just some quick and kind of high level overview info on how this can work. What I would say as call to actions for this and kind of homework for you guys, if this is something you want to test, if it's something you want to develop and have as a tool in your tool belt for your client acquisition, main things that you need, and I would just script all this out on a Google Doc to start with, and we can kind of go back and forth on it, is have like 2 to 4 variations of the title of the quiz and the hook to that we can test. Come up with around 10 questions that we can ask and what those multiple choice questions, or sorry, answers would look like. And then how do you want to use it? Right? Like, do you want to use this in your stories? Do you want to use this in your content periodically? What's that going to look like for you to actually deploy this? And then we can go from there. So, like, for example, you, Chad, I know when you're actively promoting it, you'll put it as a link in your bio, right? And then you'll drive some traffic to it, in your stories. Sometimes you can have it as a link in your stories and drive traffic to it that way. And there's many different ways that we can utilize something like this, but we want to just make sure that we set up the marketing for it as well. So, like, to give you guys a deeper example, if I know I want to use a quiz as my call to action for this week, I'm going to specifically create some pieces of content around that hook, right? And around that overall problem. So, for example, EPDO, educate might be around that problem. Personalize will be around how I had that problem. Demonstrate can be around how one of my clients had that problem and then solved it. And then offer is the quiz. And then even inside the educate, personalize, demonstrate, social proof, or sorry, content posts that I'm making, my call to action inside all 3 of those can also be for the quiz, maybe in the description, right? So I'm kind of like putting everything together when it comes to the marketing for it and making sure that everything flows. And it's not just this like random thing that I'm throwing out there. So anyway, guys, all I got for you today is just kind of like a quick introduction of what this looks like, but something that can really, really help when it comes to our overall client acquisition systems. So, any questions based off of any of this stuff before I let you go today? And Chad, thanks for sharing. That was super helpful.
Because I have one asking for a friend here. If so you're talking about like scarcity with content and different offers like bi-weekly or something like that. So do you think it'd be better to create that scarcity or leave it in the bio and kind of plug it consistently on like a podcast or in like a newsletter or something like that?
What do you mean by scarcity?
Like not always having it like up and up front for everybody to see, like kind of
Oh,
leaving it kind of hidden and then every once in a while like plug it on certain things or just kind of leave it and like the face of a profile.
oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, so just like I said, I would use it as a tool, right? Like you don't want to like always have the same tool that you're using. I would use it periodically. So for example, just like I said, like going back here, um, if I'm actively promoting it in week 1 and week 3, I would have it in the link in your bio for week 1 and week 3, and then for the rest of the weeks, I would take it out, right? And then try again later. Because same thing, if it's like it's weird, but it's human psychology 101. Like if something is always there, the value decreases, you know? So we wanna pull it out periodically and use it so that it's always fresh and it's always something that's like new and exciting and people will go through it instead of them thinking like, oh, I'll go through it later. Oh, I'll do it later. Right. So that's just kind of a way to be able to accomplish that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Cool. No worries. And then like going even deeper on that, we change up the hook. And we've already talked about that, but if we find the hook is like getting stale after a month or 2 months or 3 months of using it, then we can change it to something else. Yeah. Like to give you an example, so like Shannon Logan, who I'm working with right now, we launched her quiz in September, crushed. She got like 15 responses, really, really good, high quality responses. And now the example I just showed you today, this angle isn't working as well, just isn't. Um, we're getting some good responses, but compared to last month, it's just not working as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a month off in November, and then we're going to bring it back in December, because you don't want to use it too much, right? It's a tool to use periodically. Anything else, guys? You guys are all good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have this up in the modules. I'm also gonna have a couple of examples that I'll share as well once I get this live. And reach out to me. Any questions you guys have on this or different outlines that you guys want to build, use me. We can definitely go back and forth on this. And when used right and when used in the right sequence, it's something that can work well and makes value videos and conversations a hell of a lot easier. And I know that's the biggest pain point for most coaches. So yeah, just another tool. Cool. All right, guys. Appreciate your time today. Anything else, let me know, and we'll go from there. Enjoy the rest of your Thursdays. See you guys.
See ya.